Welcome everybody to the TraVek podcast, Before the Hammer Strikes. I'm Bjorn Johnson, General Manager, and we've got some great guests today. It's a little bit outside the box for us. I know we focus a lot on remodeling and homeowners and different aspects of business. Today we're going to talk a little bit about your health. But that being said, these are two really great business owners as well that are going to give us some insight on starting a business, running a business, and what that looks like in the health industry. I want to welcome to the show Lindsey and Ben. Can you introduce yourselves and just tell us just a little bit about who you are and what you guys have going on?
Yeah, hi, thank you. It's so great to be here and share what we do. I'm Lindsey, and I've been in allergy for 12 years now. We moved here last year, July. Back to Phoenix. So we've opened up a new clinic here in Phoenix, and we've changed a little bit about what we're doing. It's been a really fun journey.
Awesome. And just so everybody, it's Carefree Allergy, is that right?
Yeah.
And where are you guys located here in the Phoenix area?
We're right off Carefree Highway and I-17.
Oh, that makes sense with the name, right? Okay, awesome. And then Ben, you're here as well. Are you here supporting Lindsey, or?
I'm here supporting Lindsey. Yeah. So I'm involved in the business, just on the business end of it, the operation side, marketing. Lindsey, I kind of nudged Lindsey into starting her own business in allergy and asthma years ago, and she said, well, I don't want anything to do with the business side. I just want to see patients. I said, well, that's perfect because I don't want to see patients, and so we're a good match that way. So I handle everything behind the scenes, and she just loves seeing patients, so that's her focus.
Awesome. Well, it sounds like it's a good mix. I appreciate you both being willing to come and be on the show. We're going to get into a little bit of the nuts and bolts of your business and what you guys do and some of the things you offer, but I want to start where it began a little bit and maybe get a little personal.
Sure.
You're from Minnesota.
Yeah.
Are you also from Minnesota?
No, actually I grew up here.
Okay.
In Scottsdale.
So you're here local, and then you're from Minnesota. What part of Minnesota are you from, Lindsey?
Middle, small town, one of the only small towns in Minnesota.
Okay.
Buffalo. It's about 30 minutes west of the Twin Cities.
Okay, sure.
There's many small towns there. Every 5 miles, there's another small town.
Yeah. I spent about 2 years in Minnesota.
Okay.
I was in Alexandria, Minnesota for a little while,
Okay.
which is west of the Twin Cities as well. And then I spent quite a bit of time up in Duluth.
Okay.
I say Duluth, but it was actually a little town called Cloquet, if you're familiar with Cloquet,
Yeah.
Minnesota. So I'm familiar with that. Now you have a nickname. Do you mind? I'm going to read it on this piece of paper. This nickname was given to you as a child by your father.
Yeah.
Lindsey Poozer Doozer Snoozer Marie Stegosaurus Gudanimi.
Yeah, close. It's Gudanimi.
Okay.
And that is because my maiden name is Karenimi, and in Finn it's pronounced Garianimi.
Okay.
And so the shorter version is Gudanimi. I was a little girl, and all my siblings had nicknames, and I didn't have one. So I said, Dad, I need a nickname.
And that's where he landed.
Yeah, he gave me a big old long one, and then the Stegosaurus part came a few years later. It was my favorite dinosaur.
Okay. So the reason why it's so long is it sounds like it just got added. There's different variations of this nickname as things progress.
He just wanted it to be really awesome because I was feeling left out.
Well, I would say it's a pretty awesome nickname. Does anybody but your dad call you that now?
No, actually, Poozer. Some of my aunts and uncles call me Poozer.
Okay, all right. Well, if somebody shows up to the allergy clinic and they call you that, I'm sorry. You came from a pretty big family. There's 11 of you.
Yeah.
Where do you fall in line there?
Right in the middle.
Right in the middle. Okay.
Yeah. So forgotten middle child, except I wasn't forgotten because I'm surrounded by 8 boys.
Oh wow.
And so me and my sister and I, we were quite remembered, especially by our dad.
Yeah. Wow, that's awesome. Family is really important to me too. I come from a pretty large family and mainly boys. There's one girl, so our sister was definitely not forgotten. And family's important. Family's important to TraVek as well. It's a family-run company, a family-started company, and we've gone through that journey of putting ourselves on the map, but with some really strong family morals and family compass. What does family mean to you guys?
Oh, I think family's huge for the type of business that I have. Like when you have a family-owned clinic, it has a completely different feel to patients. They love the small feeling atmosphere, like everybody knows each other. And I mean, it fit really well in a small town in Flagstaff. That's definitely what patients prefer, and that's what I've always preferred. I did have a job with a larger company, and that's one of the reasons I went on my own, because I wanted that family feel.
Yeah.
I wanted patients to feel comfortable with everybody who works there. And I think that's really hard to achieve as you grow. So that's impressive that you guys have been able to keep that family values in your business, because it is one thing that I have found is lost in bigger clinics.
Yeah. It's hard to maintain that, especially as you grow. You know, you get less and less family members in an organization, and that sometimes can stray away from that foundation. So, so Ben, you're involved in the business side of it. That's what you're passionate about.
Yeah.
And Lindsey, it sounds like you're really passionate about helping the patients.
Yeah.
From a business perspective, what was the motivation of getting this thing started, and how have you gone about in being successful? Because you guys have been pretty successful even through COVID and through a little bit of a journey. What's been the secret?
I think that, family, I come from a large family too, and we have 3 girls, and I think one of the biggest motivations was we were both working at the time, and I was working in a corporate job as well, and just having time with our family as we were our kids were growing, and it was actually getting a little bit difficult. So I think the biggest motivation was to give Lindsey the freedom and flexibility to make her own schedule and kind of dictate how she operates, because we weren't the traditional, we had a lot of years where either I was home with the kids or she was home with the kids, but as our kids were getting older, we're like, well, we don't want to be sitting around at home with no kids, and we're still young, and so I just felt like if we started this business, it would just allow us that freedom and flexibility to live the life we want, and have time with our own family.
Yeah.
So that was a big motivation.
That's awesome. A lot of business owners, when they start businesses, they'll relate the story that they wanted to be their own boss, they wanted the freedom, but they work harder as a business owner than they ever have with any other career. Sounds like you guys have found a way to create a little bit of freedom there. I'm sure it's hard work, don't get me wrong.
It's hard work, and that's where I try to take the brunt of it on the business side, so she can just keep her schedule where she sees patients, and then aside from that, she really is free outside of the business. So
that's awesome.
It's worked great.
That's really great.
So our business has grown as our family has changed. Initially we wanted more time with our younger kids. Our kids are now older. We have the last one starting high school this year, and so we're now shaping it towards how can we continue our business and live the life we want to live as our kids start to get older and leave. We got one in Hawaii now and one in Flagstaff, and so we'll see where the next one goes. But we want to be able to be where they're at, and I think being self-employed is a big part of that.
I think that's fair. So let's shift a little bit. Let's talk about allergies. We were visiting a little bit before we got started, and you guys were using some big words that I have never heard of and can't pronounce. So I'm going to let you guys be the pros in regards to that. But I think in Arizona, we have such a diverse group of people, right, that have moved from different areas in the country, and I know enough about allergies to know that in different geographical areas, there's just different allergens in the air, and people are affected in a different way. I'm a transplant myself. I come from a very wet area in the Pacific Northwest. This is a very dry climate. And so even I'm experiencing different things as we live here that I didn't even have to think about before. And so what advice can you give people? Maybe they're moving in, maybe they've been here for a while. Like, what are the things that they should be looking out for to say, hey, you might have allergies?
So ironically, Arizona used to be the place that people moved for allergies, and so as people kept coming, we then had this population of allergic people because these people had children and they passed down those genetics, and so I think we have an unusual high population of people with allergies. And then they also came here and they want their grass, they want their trees, and so we planted all these plants from all over the place, and so we have a huge allergy problem here now. and it's most of the year. We get a little bit of a reprieve, I would say, right before monsoons start, and it gets really hot and things start dying off. But I hear often that when people move here, their allergies start.
Yeah.
And so they're itchy nose running, itchy eyes, watery eyes. That's a big thing of their skin. They start getting rashes. Maybe their asthma flares up and they start having trouble breathing. Can it just affect you in a lot of different ways? And it's not just limited to those symptoms that people think of allergies as, oh, my nose is running and I'm sneezing.
Mm-hmm.
It's much bigger than that.
Okay. So things to look out for, though, are the watery eyes, the traditional signs that you might have allergies.
Yeah, that's the typical stuff. Skin rashes, hives, itching. That's another big one that people don't always think of allergies. They rush off to the dermatologist usually, but oftentimes it's just your allergies.
Okay. So I've got a 5-year-old son. He just started kindergarten. He's our youngest. And before kindergarten, he had to go in and get shots so that he could go to school.
I love this conversation.
I'm sure you do. I'm leading in that direction because he hated it. Like it was, it felt for him as if it was the most traumatic situation of his life. And typically when people think about allergy prevention, they think, well, I'm going to go in, I'm going to get some allergy shots and I'll be taken care of. But not everybody loves getting shots. You guys are doing something just a little bit different. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so sublingual immunotherapy I was first introduced to as a nurse. Actually, I'm a nurse practitioner now. I don't think I said that. But I started in allergy as a nurse, and I was hired by an ear, nose, and throat group, a group of surgeons that wanted to bring allergy into their clinic. And so I didn't know anything about the ENT allergy world, and it's been a super cool journey to learn. I, like most people, think that there's the allergists and that's who deals with allergies.
Yeah.
But ENT, since they look in the noses every day, they are up close and personal with allergy problems, runny noses all the time. So chronic congestion is a big reason patients come to see them. And so the ear, nose, and throat doctors got together about 40 years ago and they formed their own allergy group, and they have come up with sublingual immunotherapy.
So for us that don't know that, dumb it down for us. What the heck does that mean?
This is an at-home allergy treatment. It's all your allergens put into a bottle of liquid and you put it under your tongue every day.
Wow.
Yeah.
It seems too simple to be true. Like, what's the benefit of that as opposed to going in and getting a shot? You know, people are used to this other way of doing allergy.
Yeah.
What's the benefit there?
So to me, the biggest benefit is the decreased risk of anaphylaxis, but I wouldn't say that's the benefit that most people are looking for. They're looking for convenience.
Yeah.
I mean, our lives are so busy. We're really crappy at scheduling things and making time for things, and especially things that are important. And when it comes to allergies, even though it can be really debilitating for some people, they still choose not to treat based on, I just can't get there.
Mm-hmm. So help me understand, and maybe hopefully I'm understanding this right. You're going to people's homes, or you're taking care of their needs and sending it to their home, and they can care at home for their allergies? Is that?
I don't go into their homes. They come to the clinic, and I get them started on their treatment. So first I do their allergy tests because we have to document that, yes, you have allergies, and it's cats, dogs, ragweed, juniper. And then that gives me the information to create this mixture for their allergies. And then it becomes a very personalized allergy treatment. It's exactly the same as allergy shot ingredients. It's just that it goes a different route into your body. We use different doses, of course, but
sure.
So it comes in a little bottle of liquid. I should have brought one with me. And then the patient does the first drop with me, and then they go home after that, and they do it all on their own at home.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's awesome. That makes it way more convenient, easier to just get treatment whenever you need it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to stay there too long, but in that vein, children, adults, like what's the age range? I brought up my boy. He's got some weird little cough thing ever since we showed up. Not like a cough, but just something in his throat that seems like allergies. What age range is that good for?
It really depends on the parent and the child and what they think they can take on. I just started a 3-year-old on it, and he's doing great.
Okay.
Same thing, cough. Is it drainage? Is it asthma? But it's cleared up now, and Mom's super happy to be done with the nebulizer.
Yeah.
As far as the oldest patient, I mean, I've had patients in their 90s, and it's like my life goal to be treating my allergies in my 90s.
Yeah.
Because that's awesome.
That's really awesome.
Yeah.
So I mean, I can just tell by talking to you, you've got this passion for people. And obviously you're in the profession that you are for a reason. What is it that drives you about helping people? Like, where does that come from, and why is that important to you?
Well, my childhood dream always was to cure cancer. Obviously I'm not in that realm now, but it just goes in line with, I like to help people, and when I can change their life, it's the coolest thing to me. And I never knew allergies was where I was gonna be. I just got there by chance. I didn't even know, when I interviewed for my job originally, I didn't even know what it was for. I just went in and I was like, yeah, I'll interview.
Wow.
And it was allergies, and it just opened up this world. And I have asthma myself, I have allergies, and so it kind of made sense.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize how debilitating this problem can be for patients. And when you fix their ability to exercise or sleep or smell or eat at a restaurant, it's like life-changing for them. And it's so cool when they come back and they're so happy that their quality of life is way better.
Yeah. So, I mean, I just love the fact that you can impact people's lives on a day-to-day basis doing something that you love. Like, that's the goal for everybody, right?
Yeah.
When we're in business, that's what we want to be doing. It feels less like work and more like something that you love.
Yeah.
So as we do remodeling projects, I mean, you know that we do remodeling, we do roofing. We probably create a little bit of a dust storm when we come into somebody's house. We may expose them to things that maybe they didn't even know were in their home as we start doing demo. On the roofing side, if somebody's experiencing a leak and we don't get called out there until after they've experienced a leak, I mean, there could be mold issues, there could be, there could be a number of different things that get created that we then go and we put a beautiful new roof on a house or we remodel an entire home. But are there allergens in people's homes that they don't even know are there, and is that something that you can help identify for them?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did a little bit of remodeling when I was younger too, and I'm sure you guys see it all the time when you're digging into bathrooms and doing demolition. You probably bump into mold and all this stuff, because I know I did. And then I was also involved in roofing sales a little bit too, and it was kind of incredible how people would have these different allergies. Or I remember getting a comment from one customer way back when, it's like, oh yeah, I've had this allergy or whatever, because when we were inspecting the roof, we found all these leaks, and then when we dug deeper and tore it apart, there was mold everywhere.
Right.
It's just mold all over the place. So yeah, definitely a lot to consider, in the home.
Yeah, I mean, we see it, and I mean, I would love to be able to, if we do see it, say, hey, maybe you should talk to Carefree Allergy. Like, your home's got some things in here that you might want to get checked out, or you might want to think about, and it may be affecting them.
Sometimes I'm the one who identifies the mold problem at home.
Interesting.
Yeah, because it's always super fascinating to me when that patient comes in. They're like, I don't have allergies, but I got all these symptoms. I don't know what's going on. Maybe I developed something. And I allergy test them, and they don't show any allergies except maybe one or two things, and it's mold. So that's when I'm like, it's exciting to me, because I'm like, you can fix this problem. You don't have to treat this. You just go home, find the mold, and fix it.
And get rid of it.
And your symptoms are going to go away.
Wow.
But there are things you can do if you can't get away from the mold, like for people who work in a moldy building and they can't get the company to fix mold, or they live in an apartment that has mold. That's really hard for people to get change to happen and the mold problem resolved. And so I tell them to get a HEPA filter that'll filter out any mold in their immediate area, and then just try to spend as
little time as possible
there. But always the focus, even if it's mold or other allergies, is your bedroom area, because we spend most of our lives sleeping. I mean, ideally we should.
Interesting.
And so if you want to make an impact with HEPA filters or mattress covers, or keeping animals out of the bedroom, that's what you focus on, is your bedroom.
Primary area.
Yeah.
That's really good insight. I don't think people know that. Like, I wouldn't think about just centralizing on the bedroom to make sure there's no allergens there, but it makes sense. You know, we
Yeah,
sleep
I mean,
there
you
and we
can't,
spend a lot
it's
of
too
time.
hard to filter like a whole house. The windows open, the doors open. I mean, people do that, and it probably helps to some degree, but yeah, mold is a really scary topic to people, and I have that conversation a lot of there's two different mold problems. You know, mold can live inside of you, and then that's a really big issue, like if it lodges in your sinuses or your
Right.
lungs. Now you have a bigger issue, bronchopulmonary aspergillosis. It's a big word, but it's basically mold in the lungs, and mold loves a moist climate, and so you can't get rid of the water source when it's in your lungs.
Sure.
And it's really hard to get it out. Same with the sinuses, and so it just kind of keeps you growing. But most people are affected in an allergy way with the mold, and mold lives outdoors. Like the pollen report is the main allergen right now is mold and dust.
Wow.
And people don't realize that mold, because I get the comment all the time, well, we live in Arizona, it's dry. And I'm like, well, we have water leaks in Arizona too.
Yeah.
But it's also in the environment, so when the wind blows, that's an extra moldy day.
Yeah, and I've noticed just living in Arizona, like it's dusty, right? And every once in a while we get a big dust storm that comes through, or I get something on my phone that says there's a dust alert.
Yeah, like last night.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The other thing that I've heard, and this may be a controversial topic, so you can opt out if you want to, but I've heard about valley fever and what that is. And for me, we moved here and I was like, I have no idea what this is, but then people start talking about it, and it's associated to when the wind blows, and that stuff is in the air, and we just don't know that it's in the air, and we breathe it in. And does that have to do with some of the pollens and the allergens that are in the air? And like, what's your opinion on that, or how does that affect allergies?
Yeah, so that's a completely different thing. Some people might confuse hay fever with valley fever. Hay fever is allergies.
Okay.
The older population uses that term a lot still. Valley fever can be something that it can exacerbate your allergy or asthma problem, definitely, if you get hay fever and you get really sick with it. Some people don't know they ever had it. Like, he's had hay fever and he didn't know he experienced it until they did it.
I had valley fever. Yeah.
Valley fever, yeah.
They did a chest x-ray and said, oh, it looks like you had valley fever when you were a kid. And I said, I did?
Yeah, so
I knew I had
really,
really bad allergies, but
It can be really mild, and I do have a patient right now that's recovering from valley fever. It can be really severe and cause a lot of lung damage. So I would only see those people if they happen to also have allergies.
Do people mistake the two?
I think you can, because it can cause, well, probably more likely an asthma thing.
Yeah.
But allergies trigger asthma, so if they're coughing, definitely they think, oh, I got some asthma or some allergies going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, that kind of leads me to the thought that I didn't know I was getting into asthma when I got into allergies.
Okay.
But it's like you can't separate.
Are they tied that closely?
Yeah, it's the same disease process, and it's caused by the same things.
Wow. Okay, so you, with the way that you treat, are you treating asthma and allergy?
Yeah, I think asthma is actually my greatest specialty.
Oh, wow.
And the reason I really love asthma is because that has a life-threatening component to it, and people are scared. So we have our older population who, if you tell them they have asthma, they'll walk out of your office. They don't want to hear it.
Sure.
It's a very scary term to them because their picture of asthma is very bad.
Yeah.
It's a big stigma associated with it. But the younger generation, interestingly, is more like, oh yeah, I might have asthma, but I don't want to deal with it because I
Right.
don't want to go on medications.
Yeah.
And so it's really interesting when you treat so many different ages, like you have to approach certain diseases a different way. And so often I'll just say, well, you have some inflammation in your lungs, and let's work on that. Let's figure out why it's there.
Interesting. Okay, so there's some stigma around that word
Definitely.
or that term. So you guys, I love the fact that there's this component of what you do that is so patient focused, and there's this love for helping people and identifying it. And then on the other side of it, there's this business side of things where you guys are business owners and you're trying to make something really great that provides you an opportunity to spend more time with your kids that are now in different areas and a little bit of freedom.
Yeah.
Our audience is similar to that. So we have an audience that are homeowners that are just normal everyday people that are looking to make a living and understand different things and be educated. We also have a portion of our audience that are business owners that are looking for, how do we do business better? How do we make adjustments in our business? How do we make changes? I want to ask a question around your journey on the business side of things, because I know that when you guys started, you were up in Flagstaff. You made the decision to come down here, and somewhere along that journey, COVID happened. And I think for every business, there was this time where it's like, well, shoot, what do we do? How do we adapt? How do we change?
Right.
Walk me through that portion of your journey and what you guys did to keep your business afloat, but have a business that is now successful and moving in a great direction through a time that could have been relatively challenging.
Yeah, so I'm going to answer first because my answer is really short.
Okay.
This is his area, but for me, I don't consider myself to have that business mind. I'm learning a lot, and so for me to get through the difficult times as you grind and grind and grind, trying to keep your business going, and then suddenly you have a patient that walks in and just makes your day, like you changed their life.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's the same with any business. You finish a remodel project and you're reminded of why you're doing what you do.
Yeah.
So it just gives you that energy and that focus to keep going when it gets hard.
I like that answer a lot. I've ran many sales teams, top performers, and I always, whenever I come into an organization or I have a new salesperson that comes on, my first piece of advice to them is find your why. Because life gets hard.
Yeah.
In sales, there's a lot of rejection. You get kicked in the teeth a lot.
Yeah.
You lose more than you win.
Yeah.
But if you're centered and grounded on what your why is, none of that stuff matters.
Yeah.
Right.
There's a bigger purpose. So I love that you brought that up. And that's for business owners. If you guys haven't found your why in your business, like find your why, because business is hard and running a business is hard.
Yeah.
And you're exactly right. If you're not grounded in a bigger purpose outside of just the money or whatever it may be, you'll lose your way.
Yeah.
So
And for
that's a
him,
great answer.
that answer might even be different, but that's definitely what keeps me going. Is you change lives, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I don't think my answer is any different, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that if you don't have your why, you won't make it through the low points. Because you look at how many new businesses fail in the first, even in the first year of starting, is they come up to a brick wall and they don't have any real reason to get over the wall or through the wall or around the wall. So the easy option is just to give up, right? So I think that if you have your why, you can push through anything. And I think that just when you're starting to think that, man, I'm not going to make it, or this business isn't going to work, or I can't figure certain things out, I think is the major pivot point, where if you can get through that, then that's when you're going to start to really actually enjoy all the hard work that you've put into it leading up to that point. So.
Yeah. Well, I would agree with that. I think that, to add on to that, and I'd love to hear your perspective on this, but, you've got your why, you hit that brick wall. There also needs to be a little bit of business intelligence that goes along with that push through, right? Because you can be as hard-headed or driven as you want, but at some point you got to take a step back and say, okay, well, what do I need to do differently to make sure that I can accomplish what I'm doing? If this isn't working, how do I need to pivot, or how do I need to change my business? And you look at companies like YouTube and Netflix, and where they started is very different than who they are today. And they may have started as a dating service, and now they're the biggest video production company in the entire world. Everybody starts different, and I think when you hit that wall and you have your why, now you have to have some business intelligence to say, okay, well, what's right for my business? Did you guys start in allergy? Was there a pivot point where you guys hit a wall and you thought, you know what, we need to do things a little different, and then maybe we'll get back to that? Or what was that like for you?
Yeah, we started in allergy. That was the main focus, and then, like I said, COVID hit, and it was a challenge because we have to see patients in the clinic initially, and then we can treat them, send them home with treatments. But there was a time there where people with allergies, and especially when COVID hit, they're like, well, maybe I'll put it off, or I'll wait for a few months, and so that was difficult. And then we just new opportunities came. So I think when you're in the space and you're operating, I think it's important to keep your eyes open too for like, hey, there's an opportunity there, or, you don't want to get sidetracked necessarily, but if
Yeah.
something comes and makes sense, you try it. Fail fast is what I always say.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work, well, find out quickly.
Yeah.
So by just keeping our eyes open and we've seen this opportunity, it's like, hey, let's do it, and it worked great. So
Well, I think our biggest pivotal point was moving here and making the decision to no longer accept insurance.
Okay.
To me, that was a really scary thing to do.
Yeah.
I had never, as a medical provider, you want to be able to treat all patients. You feel bad if there's patients that you can't treat because they can't afford it or whatever the reason is. And so I really struggled with that decision. I think for him, it made more sense. He started running the numbers and the complicated process that is required of clinics to collect your money at the end of the day it's a huge hurdle that a lot of clinics are facing, and a lot of them are going to cash pay now.
Yeah.
And honestly, patients, they appreciate it, and that's really been surprising to me because they get it. They
Yeah.
understand what we have to go through to get our money, and it's a really frustrating process. So I didn't know how that was going to go, but he did the numbers and he felt confident, and so that's what we did.
It's a scary moment, right?
Yeah.
And we, you look at businesses, and the majority of businesses come to a moment like that, where what I call, they've got to kill the sacred cow. It's something that is generating pretty good revenue, but it may not be what's best for the business or
Right.
best for your customers.
Right.
And it's a scary moment. I'll be honest, TraVek went through something similar. We used to do casitas and add-ons and from the ground up builds. It brought in a lot of revenue, but it didn't necessarily bring in a lot of sustainable profit for TraVek. We were working for free on some of this
Yeah.
stuff. And so for us, we went through the same thing. We had this scary moment where we killed the sacred cow, and a lot of the employees that were there at the time didn't love it because that was a big part of their business. But the optics were, well, let's focus on what we're really good at, and let's focus on what's best for the customer. And so we made this shift where we do just kitchens, baths, whole home remodels, anything within the existing footprint, and then we build off of that. But it's scary.
Yeah.
It's scary when you do something like that. So we get it.
I think we would all love to be in philanthropy someday.
Sure. Yep.
But I can't afford it yet.
Yep.
I got to figure out how to make this work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's options, like for instance, when we decided to cut that piece of the business off, we said we're going to cut that off, but now we're going to have really strong partnerships, and we're going to have relationships with people that do a really good job at that. We can still serve those customers in a meaningful way and be involved, and but we don't necessarily have to do that from a TraVek standpoint. So I get that slaughtering the sacred cow can be a scary moment in business,
Yeah,
and it sounds like you guys
sure.
went through that.
Yeah.
So.
Yes.
Well, guys, this has been awesome. I really appreciate both of you being here with us and just sharing with our audience some of the experiences that you guys have had. If I want to send people there to you, do you guys have a website? How do they get a hold of you?
Yes, just carefreeallergy.com is the easiest way. Look us up online, and we're trying to expand. So that's actually another thing that we're trying to do now is expand our testing services.
Okay.
So right now our testing is you have to come into our clinic to get allergy tested. But we have seen these companies forming out there, like IV therapy for one is an exploding industry out there. And so there's nurses that are treating patients all over the state and going into people's homes, and we're thinking, hey, what if we could train some of these nurses to offer allergy testing in people's homes and start partnering with some of these nurses. So I guess that's a new project we're working on now.
Cool.
To be able to offer allergy testing treatment in-home, or allergy testing in-home, basically statewide. So
Wow.
so save the trip to our clinic, but for now, come to our clinic. It's great. You'll love Lindsey.
Awesome. So for now, come to the clinic, look you guys up online.
Yeah.
Fair to say drops, not shots. Is that
Right.
kind of what
Right.
we're looking at?
Yeah.
Just creates more convenience for at home. Again, thank you guys so much. Thank you, audience, for listening each week and being able to educate yourselves on things that we feel like are important for you as business owners and for homeowners. Join us again next week with a new guest before the hammer strikes. Lindsey, Ben, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Yeah,
fun.
appreciate it.